everybody to Soul Chat. I'm really glad that you joined us again for another conversation. And today we are with one of our soul care partners, Frank McNellis, who is a personal development coach and helps people with a lot of different ways to overcome barriers in their lives. And I'm just super excited to even see Frank. We've been having some phone and email conversations. Usually I see Frank on 2 or 3 times a week in soul care, and I haven't seen him for a couple weeks. So I'm just really excited that he's here. We get to talk.
Me too.
So welcome.
Thanks, Kelly. Great to see you. I'm excited too that we get to talk. It's been a while. I'm glad we've been continuing to communicate, but yeah, it's great to see you again.
Yeah. So, we're all on this sheltering in place here in Illinois. So, and in the country. And usually, like I said, I get to see Frank in the soul care space, but you're not in Illinois, are you?
Right now, I am not in Illinois. I'm in Florida.
Oh,
Be back in Illinois soon, but yeah, I'm in Florida for right now.
Yeah, well, we're not jealous at all.
No, well, it's getting hot here. And it's this whole new way of doing things. It's just, I'm still seeing clients and connecting with people on Zoom for a number of hours a day. And it's been great. It's a little different than being in person, but it's still very effective. And it's what you can get done in person, you can still do with what I do in coaching on Zoom online. So it's been great.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you're doing when you're having conversations with people?
Many times when people come to me looking for some changes, they're at a place where they are in their life now. They're just not happy. They're stuck. They maybe know what they want to do and they don't think they can do it, or maybe they're just not sure what they want to do. So they need some direction. So what I do is I take them from where they are to a place where they can be in touch with what they want and be real congruent and flourish and be completely fulfilled in where they want to be.
That's awesome. Are you finding that people are having some more of those thoughts right now in quarantine, and maybe whatever old normal life got disruptive, and so they're having some thoughts and some considerations for maybe what new normal might look like for them?
Yeah, there's been some thought about new normal. There's a lot of adjustments and people are really reacting a lot, as we all are, to what's going on. And what people are telling me is they feel like they're stuck and they don't want to be, and they feel like there's so much, I don't want to say at mercy, but they're so much affected by and at the effect of the outside things. So we talk a lot about regaining control, and what they've told me was that really can move life ahead. I was talking to one person he was just not moving ahead at all and not taking any action. And we did some things and things are moving ahead really well with him. He's a person I've been connecting with in Florida and for quite a while, and had been making great progress, and was closing everything in for a while, but got him taking action. Some things I'd love to talk about a little bit later to get him moving forward. And he's thrilled. He's loving it and really thriving in what he's doing now.
Yeah, that's so true though, because I know for me, I've gone through phases where I just get stuck, and I know where I want to be and I know what my vision is, but sometimes your energy just gets so drained by this whole thing, and your emotions that you're feeling are so big and so overwhelming that you do get stuck. And it is hard to kind of kick yourself into gear and to move forward on the things that you think are important.
Absolutely. And it's easy to get stuck in, and I'll go over this a little later. One of the things I tell people is don't stay there. And it's easy to get stuck and not really know that you're there, because it's just, you don't really see because you're so immersed in being stuck and in the problem, and not to be there. And I've got some things that can be very helpful, that have been very helpful in how to get unstuck, but it's so important not to stay there. And the cool part about it is that when I work with somebody, I find out this is not me, this is them. They can make changes immediately, not to be stuck, which is great. And sometimes it's not tremendous right away. That might take a little time, but some steps forward, which is great. And a big part, like you mentioned, is about being resilient. And to me, being resilient is being able to adapt to stresses, to uncertain things that are around us all the time. And I have actually an exercise I like to do that everybody could do that's watching. And then I
Oh
hope they
yeah.
continue it. It's been amazingly powerful to help with that resilience. And because we want to find the certainty inside ourselves.
Yeah, because this is just, we don't know from day to day, and sometimes even beginning of the day, end of the day, but we just don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. And it's funny because I think we had this misconception that in our lives before this all happened, that we knew what tomorrow and what next week and next month and next year was going to bring, and we almost took that for granted. But
Yes.
there really there wasn't ever certainty. It was almost the illusion of certainty. And I know that that's been kind of pulled out. The rug feels like it's been pulled out from underneath of us, many of us, because that illusion of certainty is gone. But you're saying that if you have a different perspective, you have a different perspective on that, don't you?
I'm really aware of what's been going on with the certainty. And it's so easy, like you said, to find that certainty in things outside of us. And I worked with a guy a while back who had been working at the same company for, I think, like 32 years. And he was comfortable in his job. He liked it. It was very predictable. He got along well with the people he was dealing with, but he was in it for the gold watch, that proverbial gold watch for retirement and congratulations and all that. And things changed when he was a few years away from retirement. When I was working with him, which is why he came to me, things changed very suddenly. That his company had gotten taken over by a very big company. His retirement plan was no longer certain. That he had different people he was reporting to. So all that certainty he was putting outside was gone. So he needed to make some readjustments very quickly to deal with that.
Hmm.
And if we put that certainty outside of us, it's like what we're going through now. The things that we thought were stable and predictable and comfortable for us are not there. So the key, they can be gone immediately. And the key to it is to find the certainty inside ourselves, which we can, and connecting to those resources,
Hmm.
which turned out for him was great. He decided what he really wanted to do was work on his own business. He had an entrepreneurial side of him and kind of got up to retirement and formed his own business. And he's happier than he's ever been.
Oh, wow. So do you think that this is actually a good time for people to be doing some of that self-examination?
It's a good time. It's a great time for the self-examination. We have more time now and than we did, and there's things we can do. I mean, one way to connect, and I'll go over this a little later, but this is a good time to put that in, is one thing we can do. All those things are that we pursue as passions, and we've always said we're too busy. This is the time to do it because we have time to do it. So to pursue your passion, to make plans, to set goals, and goals are extremely important, which is something else I do when I work with somebody. Goals drive you towards what you want, and forming those goals and having them in mind, whether it's for your health, whether it's for your personal development, whether it's for your career, your family, relationships, anything. The goals are extremely important.
Hmm. And so there was like a meme going around that was saying something to the, if I'm not going to get the wording right, but it was something to the effect of, if you're not using this time to learn a new skill or do something, make an accomplishment, then you didn't really want it. And I know some people have kind of looked at that and said, well, that's not necessarily true, and we should be kind of focusing our efforts on taking care of ourselves. But can you do both? Can you take care of yourself and work to kind of discover a passion or work towards a passion without having pressure to perform?
You can do both. That's a great way to look at it, because as you take care of yourself and find the resources within you, you will start connecting more and more with the things that you want to be doing. When you're in an unresourceful state and you're putting things outside of yourself and you're stuck in the negativity, you're stuck in the stress, and you're stuck in the anxiety and the fear and the worry, the things that hold us back, you don't have the resources to connect.
Hmm.
So by taking care of yourself, you find that you can change your thinking around immediately and start focusing on what you want. And focusing on what you want, it's not this pie in the sky thing where, oh, I hope this and I hope that, or if you don't really believe it. What it is catching yourself when you're focusing and thinking about the things you don't want, the things that you think are bad in your life or that are scary or bringing you pain or misery. Unbelievably, and I found this from a number of sources, 80% of what we focus on in our life are negative thoughts. 80%. That's how we're
80%?
wired to do. 80% of what we think of are things we don't want. And when we do that, we bring the negative energy toward us. And many, many times, I think we all can think of examples of this, those things happen to us.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can flip that thinking around and thinking of what we do want, we can, our body will, our spirit, our body will be moving towards the things that we want. The other day I woke up and I could tell I was having one of those kind of days. It was like, and I started saying, it's going to be this kind of day. It's going to be a bad day or whatever I said. And after about 10 minutes of that, when things continued to go really downhill, I caught my thinking and realized what I was doing and flipped it around. And, I wasn't like, oh, this is going to be perfect. This is going to be magical. But I focused on the things I wanted to happen, from my setting my goals, connecting with people, the way I wanted to see it. And that's how it turned out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, neat. And I read an article today, actually this morning, that sometimes we can allow ourselves a do-over. So if you're having that bad day and it's 3 o'clock and you found that you haven't done anything, you're kind of hitting a slump and you're a little bit disappointed in yourself or just feeling blah, you can actually, you can start right then and there and
Exactly.
redo your morning routine, or you can redo something and you can do it in a much more like a remedial way or a abbreviated way. And I thought that was really good. And it sounds a lot like what you're saying. It's a mindset. It's almost like a mindset game that you have to play with yourself.
Yes, and you can do that, and you can do that now. So you're right. Instead of staying in that, I mean, you can go two ways. You can beat yourself up for wasting your day and not being productive, and then the rest of your day will not be productive, and the next day might not be either. Or you can make changes and do something and then feel good about it.
Mm-hmm.
We talked at the beginning about the certainty and about the resilience, and there's an exercise I'd like to talk about if this is an okay time.
Yeah,
It's
I'd
pretty
love to
short.
hear
Okay, great. I thought you might. And
it.
it has to do with breathing.
Mm,
And what it does, it brings this, again, this resilience, this ability to adapt to stress and anxiety and change and fear and even anger in a way that we can be in control of how we feel and to adapt to it in a productive way, and bringing things into our life that we connect with. So what I'd like to start with is doing this. Again, that's breathing and being aware of, and again, people listening, try it. You may love the results that this produces. It's been really effective for me. Thinking the center of your chest, your heart area, and thinking of breathing and the breath flowing in and out of your heart area. And as you think of the breath flowing in and out of your heart area, you can think of exhaling for maybe 5 seconds and inhaling 5 seconds, or whatever rhythm for you. And now, the thought of what we call inner ease. And I love the term inner ease, bringing inner ease to myself. If you feel like inner peace or calm or connectedness works better for you than whatever works, I'm just going to call it inner ease. So as you continue the breathing, focusing on the area of your heart, the center of your chest, and imagining your breath flowing in and out, with each breath, draw in the feeling of inner ease to balance your mental. And set a meaningful intent to connect, to anchor that feeling of inner ease. as you engage in your projects today and tomorrow, or your challenges, or your daily interactions today, tomorrow, and the rest of the week. So Kelly, do you notice anything? What do you notice?
I'm definitely just feeling a little bit more relaxed and open.
Yes. Yes. Perfect. Amazing. That's exactly right. That's
Mm-hmm.
exactly right. And it doesn't have to be right. That's not the best, but that's exactly what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People, they feel centered, they feel open, they feel calm, receptive, and things don't take on to that urgency. That's something I would recommend people do in the morning, when they
Mm-hmm.
get up, during the day, and especially before a situation that you might be going into that's the cause some anxiety. Very
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah. And you might hear people talk about like grounding themselves before they do something, or before they go into a meeting, or before they go into an exercise. And if you've not had that experience of, you may not know what that means, grounding yourself. And so I think that exercise is a really good way to do that grounding and become a little bit more centered and become a little bit more open, so that you can approach your next thing.
It helps so much to approach the next thing, to be open to approach the next thing on your plate and what's going on. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, that was awesome. I loved that. Thank you. Um, want to look at my little note cards here. So, what else has kind of helped people with resiliency in general? What is resiliency anyway?
Resiliency is, I see it as being able to adapt to changes, to stressful things, unexpected changes, things that come up that are causing us stress, worry, anxiety, fear, and being able to stay connected within ourselves. Um, one thing that helps so much is to have a toolbox. If you're going
Mm,
to go out in the backyard and build a shed, you want to have your toolbox with you. You don't want to be coming into the house or the garage to get tools every 5 minutes. You'll never get it done.
mm-hmm.
We want to have a toolbox, and the breathing exercise I just showed could be something in a toolbox, but you want to have things in your toolbox to help you find that certainty, that resiliency that you can rely on at any time. And the purpose of that, and what helps with resiliency to adapt to things, is keeping our batteries charged. I mean, we all know what happens when our cell phone battery or our laptop battery runs out. It just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And to keep our batteries charged really in four main areas of our life: our emotional part, because we are primarily feeling people;
Right.
our thinking, our mental side; our physical side; and our spiritual side that we connect to ourselves and to others. And when your batteries run down in one of those areas, let's say in your emotional area, something's got you not feeling this resiliency and you're not able to adapt. And so you're really stressed out and you're feeling and you don't know what to do. And your feeling is just stress and worry and anger and fear. That wears that down. That affects your thinking side. And then the thoughts start happening. I think we all know what it's like. I know I do. I don't do as much anymore, but I remember your thoughts just can run on and on. That tires you out then physically. And then you just don't have, then it wears you down spiritually. So then you don't have the connections anymore. You're not as much, you're not as tolerant with other people. You're not as
Mm-hmm.
accepting of yourself. So the resiliency can help maintain all that and keep those batteries charged.
Yeah. So it's all connected, really.
It is all connected.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So, what are some ways, other than a breathing exercise, what are some things that people can do right now? Some easy things that people can do to gain some of that resiliency and to find some of that certainty that really lies within and not exterior.
Yes. What people can do now is, number one, take care of yourself now. And what I mean by that is, as I said earlier, catch yourself when you're stuck in that stress and don't stay there. There are
Mm.
so many things you can do that people can do. People do meditation, they do yoga, exercise, connect with your hobby, take a walk, spend time with your pet, read, but don't stay stuck in that stress. It sounds strange, but it's so much what we do. We stay stuck there, and because it's a loop. And
Mhm.
another thing is to break that loop. And here's what that loop is like. It's where I feel like I can't do this or I'm not able to do this. And so it's self-perpetuating. And then you get to a situation that where this thing you think you can't do anymore, it comes to you and then you don't do it. You decide you're not going to do it. You're going to fail before you start. Then
Mm.
that perpetuates that loop even more. And it continues to cycle over and over again. And to break it, get out of the stress and break it somehow. And again, by catching your thoughts, that 80% of what we think about, that negativity, focusing on the things that you do want, and that will bring you those things. And other things that we can do now is, we talked about it a little bit earlier, and I'm glad you brought it up because it's so important. Take some kind of action every day.
Mm.
Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Like what
Even
what does that look like in your life?
in my life, it's where if it's a day where I might be stuck and not moving ahead, I go to my goals and I go to the things that are important to me. I do monthly goals, I have yearly goals, and I even have weekly goals. And that sounds like a time consuming process and it only takes a couple minutes. So for the
Mhm.
week, I may have 3 goals to work on that are important to
Mhm.
me. So if I know I'm not going to get it all done, if it's one of those kind of days, I'll look at one. What is one thing I can do to move towards that?
Mhm.
One of my goals this week was finishing listening to an MP3 of uh, some of the training I had had, and it's great to review it because it helps me as I'm continuing to connect with people. It's great reminders of how we think. And so one of my goals is to get through that. So I revisit it. So even if you can do 10 minutes of that, so if you can take some
Mhm.
action, and I call it taking baby steps. If you
Oh
can take
yeah.
baby steps, even if it's something, but here's what else about that that's important. Then you celebrate it instead of like, oh, I only did this, which is what we all do. I do that a lot.
Mhm.
I try to catch myself, but I don't as much as I like. But I'm getting better. But to take it and celebrate it, because when you celebrate it, then you're putting yourself back in that resourceful state. You're
Mhm.
going to bring more of those things to you, and you're going to open up more, taking more action the next time, and celebrate it. Other things we can do now, um, we can we can set goals for ourselves and make plans. We can be organized organized where we can access things. We're not going through that stress. So many people I talk to are so stressed out now, but we're somewhat before, even more now, that getting a hold of things, finding things. And this is a great time because
Mhm.
many of us have more time to get organized and moving ahead in connecting with. And another thing is to connect with the things we love, that thing we pursue, the passion. As I said earlier, the thing that we used to make the excuses about, saying that I don't have time to do this, connecting with that.
Right.
Those are
Right.
some very important things to do. Planning for your future. What do you really want to be doing in your life? And I would say, Kelly, the biggest thing that people can do now is finding those ways where where you're held back by negative emotions or limiting beliefs. Negative emotions being anger, sadness, fear, hurt, or guilt.
Mhm.
Limiting beliefs where I can't do this or I don't deserve to do this. So many times those hold us back, and there are ways to get rid of those, which are amazingly powerful, which I absolutely love to do with people. And that's the
Yeah.
most powerful thing, and it's great.
And that's something that you meet with individuals and you really hone in on the specific things that are getting in their way of moving forward in their own lives. And you
Exactly.
help them kind of work through that themselves and release some of those limiting beliefs.
Yes, and they do it themselves. The coaching I do is not a do to. I don't do anything to anybody.
Hmm.
Um, it's a do with. And
Hmm.
they're connecting with resources they already have, but those things, like you mentioned, that you said are blocking and they're not able to access it. Once you get rid of those negative emotions and limiting beliefs, then you can access it. I worked with a guy, well, I love photography. I don't spend as much time as I used to, but when I first started taking pictures, I had a lens on it, a filter, colored filter,
Hmm.
and it would cause all the photos to be of a certain hue. I don't remember the color. It was rose or amber or something. So I forgot it was on. So I took all these pictures. And when I was done, I looked at it. They were all the same hue. And it was like, oh, but
Uh-huh.
that's what the limiting decisions and the negative emotions do. We look at the world through this lens, and everything is shaded by this. And the guy
Uh-huh.
that I worked with, his his lens was that I'm not worthy and I'm fearful. And he did pretty well a lot of the time, but whenever he was pushed by a challenging situation, it would all cave in for him.
Hmm.
So we worked together a good bit. And then the cool realization, once we got rid of the negative emotions, limiting beliefs, he came to realize that, and here's his exact words: I am holding myself back.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. And that was very cool. And so by removing those things, and there's a process that's called timeline therapy,
Hmm.
and it can be done quickly. You can take a long time to remove them, but for each emotion, for each limiting decision, limiting belief, 20 minutes to half an hour, and they're gone, and they are no longer an issue in your life. It's
Oh,
amazing.
wow. That's really cool.
So for him, when we did it, we removed those things once we realized what was going on, and he is thriving in his business. He's connecting with people like he never did, and he always wished to, and is thrilled about what he's doing with his life.
Wow. So if
Yeah.
people are interested in talking with you more about some of that one-on-one work, how can they get in touch with you?
The best way is through my website. My coaching business is called Beyond Boundaries.
Mm.
So probably the best thing to do would be put in Beyond Boundaries Urbana.
Oh,
Um,
uh-huh. Yeah. And we'll put something on the screen that has your URL for your
Great.
website.
You can go there to get an appointment, and it doesn't even have to be an appointment. If you have a question, great. My email is there,
Mm-hmm.
and my phone number's there. If you want to give me a call, and I schedule, when I meet with people, we call it a discovery session. It's about 20 minutes, and
Mm.
making sure that what they're looking for is what I can do. And many times it is, and once in a while, maybe that's not the best way for them to go. And that's great. And spend time. I like to learn about what's going on. And so people during the discovery session share with me what the problem is, and we look at it and make a decision to go from there.
Sure. So if you're thinking that you're stuck in a rut during this time, or you have some things that are holding you back from using this time to work on a passion or move forward in an area that you're interested in, maybe talking with Frank might be helpful.
Okay.
And I was just thinking, it's so neat. You talked a lot about goals, and I know that we're in May, so we're halfway through the year, and I think a lot of people don't naturally think of May as a time for setting goals. I mean, we typically think about January,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
this might be an actual great time for you to sit down with yourself for an hour and write out some goals. And so maybe there's some resources that you can share that I can share with our audience on a little like step-by-step how to make an actionable goal.
I love to do that. When I work with people, they set goals that are robust and they happen, which is very cool. I think we've
Mm-hmm.
all been where we set goals that they sit there and they don't happen.
Mm-hmm.
If they're well formed, like you said, and actionable, and they're genuine, that
Mm-hmm.
you're feeling genuine, this is what I really want to do, then they happen. And
Yeah.
it's great. Still have to take action, but it's not the kind of action where you have to really push yourself. It's the action where, yeah, this is what I'm doing. I get to do this and do it. And of course, you can make a great goal, and if you don't take action, you're still not going to get there. But when you form it well, like you say, that doesn't happen because you're so motivated. You have the
Mm-hmm.
desire there.
Yeah, so we can share some resources
Love to.
on that because I'm sure
Love
you
to do that.
have something you can give us. So anything else? Any other tips or resources that you want to share right now?
The only other thing is you asked about connecting with me, and I'll say this quickly. One thing that I'm finding people absolutely love when we work together is called a breakthrough session. After we do that
Mm.
initial session, it takes an hour and a half, 2 hours, and to break through what the problem is by getting rid of those negative emotions and limiting beliefs, extremely powerful.
Hmm.
And so if there's one particular problem, we do the breakthrough session. I'm finding that being amazing. Other things, just reminding again of being aware of your thinking. because that's where all the certainty can come from. And the fact that we can change how we think, like
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about, catching yourself, which is really could be a challenge, but the more you do it and flip it around to the things that you want is great. And taking care of yourself physically, emotionally, your thoughts, and spiritually. So
Yeah, all those things are important. So I want to end with one last question. I kind of ask everybody in these conversations, but what's keeping you going right now? What's one thing that's kind of keeping you going?
what's keeping me going is I love doing what I'm doing. I haven't done this my whole life. uh, it's exciting to think of when I connected with it and realized this is what I want. I mentioned the term breakthrough. It was a breakthrough. I mean, it's like I kind of knew it was there, but when all this other stuff was gone, it was wow. So I'm connecting with what I absolutely love doing, being in touch with myself, working with other people. I find it tremendously fulfilling. Working with people as they're making changes in their life, it's great.
That's got to be really super exciting. So
It is extremely exciting. Yes.
wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Frank. It was great talking with you and seeing you and hearing your words of wisdom. And I know that your insight and your advice and just your approach of looking at things is definitely given me a lot to think about. And I hope it's given our audience something to think about.
I bet it has.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Frank.
Thank you. My pleasure, Kelly. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.